So today we're with Waseem Carrim, CEO. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
Did I swap it around?
Thank you.
Who is the CEO of NYDA? So the NYDA, it's a National Youth Development Associate Agency. Do you just want to tell us a bit more about what it is and what NYDA actually does for the community?
Yeah, thanks, Emil. So the NYDA is a structure of government. It's established within the presidency, and as its name suggests, it exists to provide youth development services to young people, socioeconomic services to assist young people in improving their lives, but also seeks to advise government, the private sector, and civil society on steps that they could realistically take to support youth development in South Africa. South Africa has a very young population. It has multitudes of young people who face challenges, and a supportive structure for youth is critical in a democratic country like South Africa. Yeah.
So the one thing I want to know is you did touch on, well, you guys do talk about the youth often because that is your the whole main thing of NYDA.
Yeah.
But with today's youth, there's a lot of unemployment rates going up, especially after varsity, not after varsity, sorry, after high school, where a lot of students did get good results, but they can't get into university or they can't get jobs after finishing the uni degree.
Yeah.
So how does the NYDA actually help solve that issue? Because it's been an issue for South Africa for years now.
A long time, yeah. So I think let's address the first element about getting into university or getting into college. I think, government has provided a lot of support through the National Student Financial Aid Scheme at any given point in time. NSFAS is supporting about 1.1 million young people in the higher education system. Yeah, and in addition to that, we know there's many private scholarships, bursaries, university bursaries that are available to young people. I think traditionally the challenge has always been the missing middle, right? Those young people who sometimes which fall outside the threshold to qualify for NSFAS, but because of different circumstances, their parents or their families can't afford to send them to university. So they have the talent and the ability to do so. But and that's a sad thing. I'm quite happy to say that government has recently announced a fund for the missing middle to assist them. So I think we are taking steps in the right direction.
So how much is that fund though? Because a lot of times for a lot of public projects, they'll say there's a certain amount of fund, and then a lot of the times, a lot of it will go missing. So do you think the government is going to do that again, or what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think, look, of course, we know there's a lot of wastage and corruption
That's
in
what
the
I mean,
system. But I also think that, it's important that people demand accountability.
Yeah.
So government accounted for or indicated that fund will be 3.5 billion. It's important that they indicate, through their various mechanisms, how many young people are actually supported through that fund. Yeah?
So speaking about development and for the future of South Africa, especially with youth and development and the upbringing of South Africa's youth now, an article from The Star about a month ago, it states that NYDA unveils second phase of National Youth Service. Yeah. I did read a little bit through the article, but what is the second phase actually?
Yeah, so I think let's take a step back and discuss what youth service is, right? So, of course, we've mentioned that South Africa is a very young country, and I think, if we look around, we have unemployment, but there's so much work to be done, right? If you think about, we always lament the fact that there's no after-school programs in public schools. We say that there's a shortage of early childhood development carers. We say that our communities are not clean, So there's no shortage of work to be done. So youth services at its core is about how we can make young people resourceful, how we can give them purpose in society through work. So it's the opportunity to offer service to your community, but also to be able to earn an income while you're doing that, and also grow your skills and your employability. So in the first phase of the National Youth Service, we placed close to 50,000 young people, which for many of them was the first time in their lives that they'd had a job. For many of them, the first time they've earned an income. For many of them, first time they opened a bank account, and we saw some really interesting positive developments, because we saw about 12,000 of those young people went into more sustainable forms of employment. Either they found a job or they started their own small business. And we invested in a second phase of the program where we've taken an additional 20,000 young people. It's a really positive development for us, because not only is it one of the largest youth service programs on the African continent, it's one of the largest ones globally.
Oh, globally.
So I think those are exciting dynamics for us around National Youth Service.
And then relating back to an article that was published by the South African government agency now, news agency, that's their own website they have. It was on the 20th of April last year. It says that they want the NYDA is called to expand its research in rural areas, but they mainly want to focus on getting more people involved in the forestry, agriculture, and mining industry. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we see a lot of scope. So South Africa, I mean, a lot of people will say mining is, for example, the sunset industry, right? But South Africa still has some of the largest chrome, platinum, gold reserves globally, right? So mining is a core part of our economy, and integrating young people into the mining economy through things like the mining charter is very important for us. Yeah. Similarly, on agriculture, if you think about, just give you an example, Saudi Arabia has become a recent partner to BRICS.
No, I've seen
recently lifted the ban on South African meat exports, right? So if you think about the amount of goat farming that happens in places like KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape, and the amount of young people that we see involved in agriculture, particularly the opportunity for export markets for agriculture is huge. So we see that there are certain industries which are primed for growth in South Africa and can really help us in addressing the unemployment challenge that we face.
Well, keeping that in mind, I do agree that mining and forestry is very important, but we are moving towards a more technologically based, and yes, you do need chrome, you do need platinum, all that. So do you think we should be focusing more on encouraging youth to be more in the technology phase of things, or more in the hands-on agriculture and mining fields?
So I think it's a bit of both, right? I think that you don't necessarily need to be focused on only one sector of the economy. What you need to be able to do is be agile enough to respond to growth in various sectors of the economy, right? Just to give you another example, is that South Africa is now the #1 destination for global business services, call centers, data processing centers, business processing. We've overtaken India, we've overtaken Indonesia. And those are good jobs that pay good salaries to young people. And training young people for jobs in those sectors is not too much of a difficult task. So I'd say we need to be looking across the economy at different sectors and not pigeon ourselves into one basket.
Now, going on to not our final question, I will say rather the second last question. So when you're at the NYDA, you were in 2014 the chief financial officer, and then in 2018 you became the CEO. How does that happen? Like, did you start in the NYDA as a chief financial officer, or did you work from your way? I wouldn't like to say the word, but from the ground up or bottom up, and then made your way to the CEO. So how does that actually feel, and what advice do you have for anyone trying to get to your position in their own business or own company that they work with?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was a consultant and auditor for the NYDA, so I kind of understood the business. But I didn't join the business from the ground up. I joined as the chief financial officer, having had some experience from the external environment of what the business looked like. And of course, I mean, I'm an accountant by profession. I would have been happy to be a CFO at some point. I was asked to be the CEO, and here we are 6 years later. So it's I
just want to mention, because when I looked at it, I was like, from 2014 to 2018, that's a very short period to become a CEO.
Well, some people would say it's a long period. Some people say if you're not getting promoted every 2 years, you should be really. But of course, there's different dynamics to this kind of thing here. But I mean, I think the advice I could offer is to say, one, of course, hard work and discipline is important in achieving those things there. What's more important is building a network, and more importantly, showcasing that network what you're capable of, because really these relationships are very people to people based, ultimately it's people who decide to hire you or not hire you.
Things have changed a lot, because I know one friend, he doesn't really have a university degree, he has a high certificate, but he's a video editor. And he recently got a job just by showing what work he can do. So with that also in mind, with that statement I just made, do you think that's how the youth of today and of tomorrow can start finding employment, instead of how the old school way is, like, you have to have a university degree, you have to have a certificate, and all that?
I definitely think so. I mean, I don't want to devalue the value of education. I think education still is probably
I'm not devaluing the idea of education.
But I mean, I've seen young people with a matric certificate go out and do amazing things and be amazing entrepreneurs. You know, I see young people working in the gig economy across, working for a number of employers, working as consultants. You know, I've seen young people teach themselves skills via YouTube. You know,
I mean, that's how I learned, because I originally studied at varsity to do web design. Didn't really work out. So then I went from there, and now I do full-time video editing. I sold myself from everything from now, like from the beginning till now.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic, right? So I think the opportunities available to us are immense. You can sit here in South Africa and to work for companies in the United States or the UK, you know. So we really work in a global environment, in a gig economy. I think things are changing, and I think, you know, it is up to young people to some extent to look at what the different opportunities are that are available. It's up to organizations like the NYDA to also expose young people to how they can access these opportunities and how to take advantage of them. Yeah.
I guess my final question is, do you think there's actually any hope for South Africa's youth in the next, let's say, 5-ish years? Because a lot of people think South Africa's going downhill because of the political state of South Africa, the economical state as well, but also the educational state as well within South Africa.
Yeah. So, well, I'm a person who's very hopeful about South Africa. I mean, I've traveled to a couple of places around the world, and I can distinctly say that every single country has its issues, and our issues are no different from other countries. Yeah. So what's important is that, well, you know, I heard something interesting the other day to say, well, if you're hopeless, then just you can leave, right? But we want to work with the people who have hope around them. Yeah. So I think, despite all of our challenges, nothing is not resolvable. Yeah. If I just look at education, for example, a few years ago we used to say that for every young person that starts a grade 1, 1 in 2 of them will not end up finishing matric. Right? So about 50% dropout rate. We've reduced that dropout rate to about 30% in the last few years, which just shows that we are making incremental progress, right? We spoke about the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention. We've now seen 8 consecutive quarters of decreases in youth unemployment. Yeah, so I'm very hopeful about South Africa. I believe we are putting in place the structural reforms that will enable us to fix our economy for the long term and provide a more prosperous future for people, and but particularly young people. Yeah.
Well, Waseem, thank you so much for coming on to the interview and actually, I guess, giving us really good advice on, challenges. Well, some challenges of getting to this level of CEO and what you have to go through and stuff, and some great advice. And also, I guess, helping people understand more about what's actually going on within the youth, because a lot of times you read news articles, they won't give you in-depth details a lot of times. Yeah. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel, or follow us on our social medias. This video is also going to be posted on social media, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Waseem, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.